Well, U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley blaming Russia for not doing enough to stop the war in Syria. Her comments came in an interview with me, where she says the Trump administration will focus on trying to reform the United Nations, its budget, and its priorities to better address the threats we now face. You know, the Trump administration has also proposed taking a big chunk out of the contribution by U.S. taxpayers to the multi-billion-dollar UN budget. But Ambassador Haley insists any reductions will not end up harming the UN's humanitarian and peacekeeping missions. The new United States ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, was an accountant before she entered politics. Now, she is again relying on that business experience as the Trump administration seeks to cut the U.S. contribution to the UN budget. Where do you feel the United Nations has gone wrong?
Well, I think the United Nations got stale. I think that what happened was they got into the motions. It's what happens in most clubs. It went through the motions, and all of a sudden it got stale, and then the action went down, the costs went up, less things were happening.
The UN's regular and peacekeeping budget amount to more than $10 billion a year. Of that, U.S. taxpayers pay upwards of $2.8 billion. The president's budget proposal aims to slash $1 billion from that.
I think that we see that there absolutely can be efficiencies. So we're going to start cutting around the edges and see what we can get done. Where do you start to cut? The biggest amount of money that's spent in the budget is the peacekeeping missions.
And the U.S. pays a lot more for those 16 peacekeeping missions than anyone else, just over 28%, which the administration wants to reduce to 25%. Still, that amount would be more than double the next largest contributors, China and Japan, about 4 times more than Germany, France, and Great Britain, and 6 times more than Russia. On Friday, the Security Council unanimously agreed to reduce the number of peacekeeping troops deployed in the Democratic Republic of the Congo by 500 out of almost 17,000.
What I'm very proud of is in the first peacekeeping mission that we really took on, the entire Security Council came together and is saying, yes, we're going to reform. And we're going to keep doing this with every single mission. And that in itself is going to be massive cost savings.
What would you say to critics who would be concerned that this could cripple peacekeeping missions of the UN?
I would say that we want the same things. Basically what we want is for people to be safe. We want the aid to get in. We want to make sure we're lifting people up. Too much focus in peacekeeping missions has gone to the contributing countries. It's gone to the host government. It's gone to the management. No one's talking about the people on the ground. I think that the United States has always been the moral compass of the world. And I think we are generous by nature, and we want to see people safe. We don't want to see people starve. We don't want to see people mistreated by their governments. But you do have to say, what can we do? We can't be all things to everyone, but what we can do is work on keeping the peace.
What would you say to those who are concerned about humanitarian efforts? Will refugees starve? Will children not be inoculated if UNICEF is cut?
No, I think what we have to look at is everybody can cut. You know, in business we always said when you had downtimes, that was the best thing because it forced you to cut. It forced you to get smarter, but it forced you to be more effective.
Haley is also working to address what she sees as a long-standing tilt against Israel.
I think the biggest surprise has been truly the anti-Israel bias. To go in and think that every single month they have a briefing on the Middle East, but they're not talking about the issues we would care about. They're not talking about Syria. They're not talking about Iran. They're not talking about North Korea. What they are talking about is Israel. Every single month for 10 years, they've been Israel bashing. And that was something that I just couldn't believe they put the time and energy into doing that when we have so many threats around the world.
Haley's Israeli counterpart, UN Ambassador Danny Danon, told us he's already noticed a difference. What do you think of her?
I think she's great. You know, she comes with her values, with the truth, and that's what we need at the UN. We need to bring the UN back to its core values. The UN is a good institution, but it was kidnapped by evil forces. And I believe that with Ambassador Haley and my team, we can work together and maybe change the UN and bring it back to where it should be.
She says it's working.
So things are happening, and it's changing, and the tone is getting better. People suddenly realize we do have more important things to do. And not only that, I think they're tired of me yelling at them about Israel bashing.
Tired of yelling at the diplomats about Israel bashing. Well, Haley, you know, is the daughter of immigrants. She was born in South Carolina, and she rose in politics to be the governor of that state. And she is seen as a rising star in the Republican Party. You know, when President Trump announced her nomination, He said that she has the ability to bring people together. Well, now she faces that task in a sometimes hostile environment, where she has to deal with international diplomats from 192 other nations. But she says she does look forward to advancing American values at the UN.